Good evening and welcome. A majority of the board is present, therefore a quorum is present, and the meeting is qualified to consider the agenda items. Board Member Wester, if you will please let the audience know about our interpretation services.
Buenas, si necesitan escuchar el mensaje o la reunión en español, tenemos a una intérprete. ¿Si puede levantar la mano la intérprete? No tenemos intérprete. Pero gracias.
If one arrives, then we will update you. Tonight's flag salute will be presented by the Webster High School JROTC under the direction of Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Class Phyllis Mabry. Please stand as we prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the posting of colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join the Daniel Webster High School Junior ROTC Color Guard in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
Mr. Percival, I'm sure you will be proud to introduce tonight's cadets.
Tonight, our color guard was presented by the Daniel Webster High School Junior ROTC Color Guard. Their instructor is Senior Army Instructor Chief Warrant Officer Phyllis Mabry. Their principal, of course, Shelley Homan. And students tonight were Pledge Leader Cadet Master Sergeant Jaden Brown. Our color guard consisted of Cadet Corporal Gary Hicks, Cadet Second Lieutenant Mia Elder, and Cadet Second Lieutenant Shakasi Ostrander, and Cadet Sergeant Anna Rivera. Thank you very much. Good job.
I want to remind everyone that if you wish to address the board, you'll need to sign up with the board clerk at the end of the board table here, Ms. Cindy Hutchings, and you have a 5-minute limit for those comments. Once we approve the consent agenda, we will not accept any more speaker requests. Before I consider a motion to adopt the agenda, Deputy Superintendent Shannon, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Yes, Madam President. There's one change to this evening's agenda. Please correct the fund name and account number of information item G3 to Bond Fund 32-116-10000-50653-00000-000-007-710. This is the only change to this evening's agenda, and I would be happy to repeat that if necessary.
Yeah, I missed the zeros.
There were just a few.
With that change, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So, second.
I'll call for the vote. Ms. Fate?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Deputy Superintendent Shannon, do you have any special presentations this evening?
No, Madam President. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening, but we look forward to some special presentations on January 22nd.
Exciting. Remember that the 22nd is on a Tuesday evening, as the prior day is a holiday, and we're working to make sure our school board meetings are days when kids are in school and families are thinking about things like school and not on a vacation. We need to approve the minutes of the December 17th, 2018 regular meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes now.
So moved.
Second?
Call for the vote. Ms. Wester?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Ms. Fate?
Aye.
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 Aye. We do have one item this evening on tonight's action agenda, and the recommendation is that we amend the real estate exchange agreement approved on October 23rd, 2018, item F2, to reduce the area of the tract being acquired adjacent to Celia Clinton Elementary School from 10 acres to 6.654 acres. And the reason for this is that the city will keep the additional 2.38 acres of the original tract to operate as the park, and the remaining land will accommodate the construction of the early childhood facility in the intended location on the site. I'll entertain a motion to approve item F1.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion on this item or questions? Mr. Percival?
So this has gone, this has been this matter that's been worked on for quite a while now, and we've gone back and forth with the neighborhood to try to strike a compromise that would try to elicit the most satisfaction from as many parties as possible. And so I really appreciate the diligence of the staff to continue to work back with the neighborhood on this thing, and the city's cooperation in this matter as well. And this seems like we've struck a good position, and it's time to move forward and get our early childhood center, our Educare over there. So, thank you.
Educare 4. It's exciting. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wester?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. And with that, we'll move to the information agenda, which Deputy Superintendent Shannon will lead for us this evening and present that agenda. Dr. Gist is out this evening, and we're trying to set a record for the quickest school board meeting while she's not here.
I might add, because one of the longest school board meetings was when she was not here, and I got
Paula's trying to redeem herself.
Exactly. Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, audience members, as a reminder, these information items are for review by the board and will come back for full consideration and vote as consent or action items at an upcoming board meeting. Item G1 is a routine item that recommends entering into a contract with the Mayo Hotel to host the Edison Preparatory High School Prom on April 12, 2019. Items G2 and G3 recommend approval of contracts with Hero K-12 LLC of Miami, Florida for continued use of the Hero Incident Tracking System at Monroe Demonstration School and East Central High School from January 23rd of this year through January 23rd of 2020. The cost to Monroe will not exceed $2,625, and the cost to East Central will not exceed $2,100. The expenses for both schools will be charged to the appropriate bond fund accounts. And the HERO system monitors late arrivals and issues tardy passes as students enter the building, which expedites procedures allowing students to reach class in a timely manner. Item G4 recommends updating an existing memorandum of understanding with the United States Air Force to revise the current language at the request of the Air Force Junior Officer Training Corps hosted by Washington High School. The current MOU verbiage has generated some confusion, not just here in Tulsa, but apparently worldwide, and inconsistencies in program application. So the United States Air Force is working with different locations to update the language. The new verbiage will provide a more clear understanding of all responsibilities, and these changes present no cost to the district. Before I move to item G5, I'll pause for questions on any of those.
I don't have a question. We do have Mr. Huffines who'd like to speak to item 2 and 4 and 14, and I can, Mr. Huffines, if it's okay, we'll get to 14 and then we'll let you speak to all 3 at one time. Okay, well, I'll call you up at the end of 14.
Item G5 is a recommendation to pay full-time classroom teachers and librarians who have received National Board certification an annual bonus based on funds provided by the state. For this purpose, a full-time teacher is defined as a classroom teacher, librarian, counselor, audiologist, speech pathologist, or school psychologist employed as a 1.0 full-time equivalency on school personnel reports. This item poses no cost to the district. Again, we are the pass-through for the state funding. Bonuses are to be paid by the State Department of Education through the district's payroll service, and thus will be contingent upon state funding. Yes.
So, just to be clear, the state did reinstate funding for speech paths, audiologists, school psychs.
That is correct.
Okay.
I believe that happened last year, and then we await this year for the state to vote on the...
Always waiting on something.
Yes, so...
Thank you, Deputy Shannon.
And if we have more specific information on this when it comes back for consent, we'll most definitely provide that as well. Items G6 through G9 will be presented by Chief Information and Analytics Officer Stephen Fedor. Mr. Fedor.
Thank you, Deputy Shannon, President Schreiber, members of the board. Items G6 through G9 are standard renewals for internet services across the district. You may recall that these items will come back to the board for ratification in late June ahead of the July 1st effective date. The reason for bringing these today is to meet a mandatory filing deadline for E-rate. E-rate, as you may recall, is a federal program aimed at supporting schools and libraries to obtain affordable broadband. The E-rate program provides a discount of about 90% on broadband services. The remainder of the cost is covered by the Oklahoma Universal Service Fund, or OUSF, with the exception of a small amount of money that is for related fees, about $26,000. So item G6 and G7 are aimed specifically at the 2 major data centers here at this building and the one at our transportation building. Item G8 is to cover a couple of sites that are used for which is used for security and other items to keep the internet there. And then G9 is the what we call wide area network, and that is for all of the school sites to receive their internet. Total cost of all of those combined is about $1.6 million, but once again, out of pocket from the district is only about $26,000, and those are those expenses that aren't allowable under E-rate or the Oklahoma Universal Service Fund. Happy to answer any questions that you may have on these items.
Ms. Wester.
Thank you. So, quick question. Is this going to help with the reliability of the internet services throughout the district? Or, because I know at times it goes off and on.
Yeah. So these specific items, in that they're renewals of the same Cox services that we're receiving, won't change any of the reliability issues that may have been seen at school sites to this point. One of the benefits, or I guess good things about this, the reliability issues that we have seen in some sites is not related to Cox and their reliability. One of the biggest areas that we do see reliability is actually due to hardware, and in particular, something called UPS, or uninterruptible power supplies. Currently, have work going on to replace all of those in school sites where they have some outdated hardware. So definitely some work going on to improve reliability, constantly looking for those opportunities. These items in particular won't change that, but once again, some work going on where we hope to improve.
Items G10 through G19 will be presented by Executive Director of Bond Projects, Chris Hudgens. And Mr. Hudgens, would you pause after item G14?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Shannon and board members. Items G10 is to approve the Supplement 14, our master contract with our construction manager, Crossland Construction. This is for the interior renovation at Cooper Elementary. Item G11 is to enter in contract with the lowest responsible bidder for HVAC renovation at Kendall Whittier. This past summer, we did the west wing and the central wing. This is phase 2 for the Kendall Whittier Elementary, and it will be the east wing and then the main administration area and the other parts of the building. So this is all part of the 2015 bond issue, and it's currently out to bid right now. Item G13 is to approve a amendment with Trigon General Contractors and Construction Managers to provide construction management services for the interior renovations at MacArthur Elementary. This project will take place this summer. And G13 is to approve Supplement 11 for a master contract for interior renovations, Cooper, MacArthur, Rogers, and HVAC improvements at Hoover Elementary with Allied Engineering. And items G14 is to approve the purchase of servers to Lighthouse Electric. This is to support our new ACTI camera systems, and that is all part of the new security cameras, part of the new 2015 bond. Are there any questions on those?
Mr. Huffines.
Thank you. 2019, Bright with Promise. Greetings to our Honorable Deputy Superintendent Shannon and our Madam President Suzanne Schreiber, and each of our Honorable Tulsa Public School Board members and honorable staff and team. We are grateful for all the teachers and citizens of this great city, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a joy to be with you on the 7th day of January in the year of our loving Lord, Jesus Christ, 2019. Yes. G2, James Monroe. His character and leadership are consistent with community values. I believe, and many believe, the name of the school can empower students to walk in a similar greatness exhibited by the name. TPS Monroe Demonstration Academy. Kindle edition from Kent State University Press. It's a book, James Monroe, Oberlin's Christian Statesman, Reformer, 1821 to 1898. Chapter 1 lets us know he was ordained to preach the gospel. We can also read from a statement by the President Jefferson. The great Jefferson said, Monroe was so honest that if you turned his soul inside out, there would not be a spot on it. Recommendation, approve a contract with Hero K-12 LLC, Miami, Florida, to continue the Hero Incident Tracking System for Monroe Demonstration School. January 23, 2019 through January 23, 2020. Cost not to exceed $2,625. And moving forward, Washington High School. And reminding us of the integrity of the great man Washington High School was named after, Booker T. Washington. In chapter 4 of his autobiography, Up from Slavery, said, and you might remember this from when you read it, he said, one of my teachers taught me how to use and love the Bible. And I will add, may we continue to make this a priority. Recommendation, update the existing Memorandum of Understanding the United States Air Force to revise the current language of the request of AFJROTC hosted by Washington High School, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The current agreement will expire on June 30th, 2019. And on G14, and grateful for this board's high interest in keeping our children safe and supportive of this investment in our children. Thank you, Madam President, for your excellent leadership.
Thank you. Mr. Hudgens, you have a few more
Yes.
items to present?
Items G15 and G16 are both to approve change orders for roofing projects. One is at Porter. The second one is for Cooper Elementary. This is additional scope that was added to the project. G17 is to approve agreement with Hilborn and Weedman PC to serve as our bond counsel and disclosure counsel for our combined purpose general obligations 2019 bond. And G18 is to approve our paying agent, BOK, combined purpose general obligations 2019A. And they'll be the paying agent. And items G19 is to set our bond sale for the next general purpose obligation bond, Series 219A, and the sale of that is for $22,500,000, and that will be on February the 19th, and the board will approve or award the lowest responsible bidder. Are there any questions on any of those items? Thank you.
That concludes the information agenda, and I know we do have a staff report this evening. Deputy Superintendent Shannon, do you want to introduce that?
Yes, Madam President. I'm happy to have an Empowered Schools Act report that will be presented by Chief Innovations Officer Andrea Castaneda. Ms. Castaneda.
Madam President, members of the board, I am pleased to be with you tonight. In previous presentations, we've had the Tulsa Beyond School design teams come and speak to you. Today, what we want to do is lay the foundation for Tulsa's Empowered Schools Act zone application, which you guys will be receiving in the coming weeks. And what it does is introduce the possibility of statutory and regulatory flexibility for the participating high schools. Tonight's presentation really just describes the major components of the application and gives you a chance to ask any questions you have now. The item will come to you as an information item and then as a voting item in the coming weeks. So to begin with, what we wanted to do was just give you a sense of two things simultaneously. The first is the work the teams have done, and the second is the structure that the zone application will take. And that's what these numbers are going to walk you through tonight. So numbers 1 through 3 are the portions of the application that form the basis of why we might pursue a zone application and how deliberate the teams and the district has been. This application will be Oklahoma's first. It has been attempted once before, and it was voted down by members of the participating faculty. So that means that we, along with you, are figuring this out for the first time together. There is no template in Oklahoma, although there are very reliable templates in other states. Sections 4 and 5 are going to present the details of the school level application inside of our zone. That's where you will see some of the details about what the schools themselves are contemplating and some of the initial components of each school model. 6 and 7 are the actual process steps that will happen. That will be your consideration of the district zone application, and then subsequently the state's review, the State Board of Education's review of the zone application. And then number 7, I just want to point out, is that the school teams are going to be working simultaneous to all of this. They can't pause. They do need to continue, and they'll be doing their work as you are doing yours. Some of this is review, so I'm going to go quickly until we get to the new content. So first, the basis of our zone application is going to be the engagement work that we've done throughout the city in the last school year and up through the fall. And that work resulted in 5 common themes across all stakeholders. Those are the themes that almost everyone, no matter who we talked to, said was really important about high school. And you can see these up here. These are the aggregation, therefore, of hundreds of interviews and thousands of voices. And The purpose of this was to make sure that as we built the skeleton of an approach for Tulsa, that we were building it from the voices that are the most important ones in our context. From that, we crafted the initial policy infrastructure of the zone application. That is our graduate profile and the 5 design anchors around which all of the teams are working. Just as a reminder, we included this here. Our grad profile is a little unconventional in the national landscape because it is first spoken in the first-person voice of students. And second, it's designed to capture as much as possible about what we heard students say, in addition to teachers and the adults in their lives in the broader community. These 5 anchors are the 5 anchors that all the design teams are working around. These bring coherence across the zone, even though each model is a little bit different. These are the things that the models, when fully designed and articulated, need to be addressing. From that point, we worked with all the high schools in our district. We opened it up to everyone, and we had 4 high schools join the Tulsa Beyond project and cast design teams. Those design teams are majority share educators, but they also include parents, community members, administrators, and students. This is the process that they've been in since then, which is extensive work as teams, articulating their vision, and designing the major components of each school model that are the result of the combination of the engagement work we all did together in the early stages and their school and community-specific engagement work. In addition to this, they've also had the chance to talk with and learn from local and regional and national experts. They've done site visits. They've run very small samples of their ideas to see how they behave. So, for example, Webster High School is interested in more flexible scheduling that allows students to pursue a variety of priorities simultaneously. They ran a small test of this with about a dozen students, and they did it for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, they tracked attendance, they tracked behavior, they tracked academic completion, because they wanted to see if their hypothesis was correct. All of the schools have been doing small samples like this. In addition, they've been doing a variety of other important tasks around articulating their ideas in ever more precise forms. So this fabulous looking picture of our students is our students on one of our site visits in DC. There's been 2 site visits. All of the students and most of the team members have gone. They've also done a narrative summary of their ideas so far. They've done self-assessments of all of their work against criteria to assess their own readiness and the maturity of their ideas. They've articulated their ideas in a design canvas, and they have begun doing the small prototypes to test their ideas. That's all been part of the runway up until this moment. So, this moment is where I will go a little bit more slowly, but not so slowly as to blow your lead, because we're doing great.
Thank you.
So this is the moment where we really get into the Empowered Schools Act Zone portion. So to pause briefly, this is a 2011 state law that has, as I said, never been used, but what it does is allow approved applicants to waive nearly every portion of state law. There are a few exceptions. Those exceptions are not ones we would wish to waive anyhow. They include protections for students with special needs, instruction to state standards, federal testing, a variety of things that are actually critical underpinnings of our system. But besides that, in theory, anything could be waived. Our application will cover a small subset of the universe of potentially waivable requirements, and that subset was the result of going through all state law and all district policy to identify the few high leverage pieces that, if they were more flexible, would allow design teams to do dramatically different work in high schools for students. The Oklahoma Empowered Schools Act is modeled off of other states, but there is something that is a little bit unusual in ours, which is that in order to advance from a concept to an actual application to you, the schools have to do a secret ballot vote of all classroom teachers. In casual conversations with people with between 40 and 50 years of experience in the system, no one can remember going to teachers and asking their permission. Certainly not by secret ballot vote. And the road to getting to the secret ballot votes was really rich and productive, because what it actually required of the design teams is to go out and share their ideas. And then when there were questions they couldn't answer, they had to go back and figure out whether or not they could answer them. And they did that over and over. And all of our schools have run these secret ballot votes, and they passed with 90+% approval in every school. It's extraordinary. I was at several of the votes, and the level of enthusiasm held by the team and respect that their colleagues have paid to them on behalf of their efforts to bring an idea was remarkable. It was uplifting. So, those pieces being done, what happens next is that we, Tulsa Public Schools, and specifically the Design Lab, bring an application to you. This application is more involved than that which the schools themselves looked at, because we have to lay out the entire basis for the zone, summarize the pieces of policy and regulation, statute policy and regulation that we seek potential waiver against, and describe the ways in which we will ensure that students receive all of the safeguards they need, even in the face of greater flexibility. So, after going through 1,400 pages of requirements, these are the 3 areas that we, as a design lab, have offered up to the Tulsa Beyond schools for potential flexibility. We did this for 2 reasons. One, it's an overwhelming amount of policy to read. And 2, we want to make sure that within our zone, we're offering things that can be managed and are valuable. Everything was not up for grabs. So what we're down to is attendance, flexibility around graduation requirements, and limiting some of the largely bureaucratic limits around the pace at which students move, the variation within their day, and the proportion of time they can spend doing things within their day. In the end, this will be a fairly small set of waiver requirements, but they're high leverage. However, there is an important flip side to this amount of flexibility. The flexibility is not carte blanche merely to design something new. It has to come with thought and care to ensure that we're delivering something that is actually better and truly thoughtful for students. So the reciprocal are the things that cannot be waived under this. And to be clear, rigor has got to travel along with this work. Saying that we are going to add greater flexibility to graduation requirements doesn't mean that students get to learn less. In fact, what it means is they're probably going to be learning more. But the way that they learn more, the classes in which they learn more, the times in which they learn more are likely to be different. So this is not an exhaustive list, but it is a short list of the things that we've talked about a lot with the teams, and in fact that the teams themselves, the design teams, ended up talking about with their staff. Quickly, I do want to also let you know that we have, as a design lab, set a few constraints on what they can do. They have to administer the state test. There's no change there. They still must cover the state academic standards. They'll be administering MAP and Panorama. And they have to ensure that they're serving all students with special needs at high levels. Those are, one more. It can't cost more. We don't have the money to build something that can't be sustained, so it has to be funded under our current site budgets, and only transitional costs can be covered. This is the summary of the reverse of the flexibilities. I already told you guys about this. The secret ballots were paper ballots. We did them in faculty meetings, collected them and counted them in faculty meetings. This was after consultation with TCTA, who helped us better understand the ways in which voting can go smoothly and can be a disaster, so we did appreciate their help with that. They've been extraordinary partners all along in this work, and I look forward to continuing to learn from them as we do something that feels new to us. So the next steps are that we'll be submitting to you guys in the coming weeks a zone application, and then you will have the opportunity as an information item to ask more detailed questions about those. If you see it fit to approve that application, we will then be advancing it to the state board. The state board is aware of the work we've been doing so far. They know that the schools have already voted, and we've consulted with them about the steps necessary to bring something to them and the timeline upon which they need it. After they receive it, they have 60 days to make a decision, and absent technicalities about which I'm unaware, they can deny it on one or both of only two grounds. It's likely to result in lower outcomes for students, or it's likely to be financially unsustainable. I'm going to turn it over to you all for questions now.
Any questions from board members? I want to say thank you for pausing on the secret ballot and the teachers having sort of the say in whether this is going to happen or not. Every once in a while in Oklahoma, you see our populism rearing its head, and I love that. I think it's so important. It obviously is probably key to the success of the program. So I think that's interesting. Looking forward to seeing the application.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
From there, we are going to take any board member reports or concerns this evening. And we don't have any citizen comments, but I know that Deputy Shannon's going to share a superintendent report.
Yes, I do have a few brief remarks this evening on behalf of Dr. Gist. First off, I want to make our community members aware that the 2019-2020 school calendar is available on our website at www.tulsaschools.org/calendar. The creation of our school calendar is led by a committee that includes principals, teachers, and support and district staff. We also have parent representatives, and our Tulsa Classroom Teachers Association sits on that committee. So we work to ensure that we have a range of voices and perspectives at the table each year as we develop the calendar. You'll see some changes to how our calendar is structured. We discussed these at board meetings, I believe, in November, December, when the board adopted the calendar. But I think the highlights are the changes include a full week off from school during fall break and over Thanksgiving. We know that short breaks of 2 to 3 days can be difficult for families, and we know that student attendance drops during short weeks. So we worked very intentionally to create an academic calendar that best supports students being in class and fully engaged in learning every day. We're also very much aware that we have a number of our students who rely on school for nutrition. So that is not lost on us, and we are working diligently to ensure that during those long breaks, we are also meeting the needs of some of our most at-risk students. So again, you can find the calendar on our website at tulsaschools.org/calendar. secondary catalog. We're incredibly excited that we've published, you can find this online, and I'll read that website in a moment, but working very hard to help our students and families understand the different school options that are available at the middle, junior high, and high school levels. As you may know, our neighborhood transfer window is open until mid-March, and to help families with children in 5th, 6th, and 8th grades, we're excited to share that we now have a catalog available with information about all of our middle, junior, and high school options. We know that making decisions as children move between elementary to middle and junior high, and then from junior high to high school, can feel exciting, can also feel challenging, and can most definitely feel overwhelming. So we hope that our secondary options catalog will help families and students make the right program choices for our young people. You can request a copy of the catalog online at tulsaschools.org/choose-TPS. And I think some of our board members have some copies of that up here from our last board meeting. So thank you, Ms. Keller, for sharing that. And finally, it's that time of year when the weather is quite unpredictable. So it could be a balmy 60 degrees on January 7th, and probably in 2 days we could have a blizzard. So with that, wanted to just update everyone on our inclement weather process. Our operations team makes initial recognition a week in advance by monitoring local forecasts with local media and the National Weather Service. So you kind of look in advance to see that weather systems may be coming through. As a weather system approaches, the forecast is monitored 48 hours in advance on an hourly basis. And as the weather conditions continue to be monitored and evaluated, we use a process to make a decision. So when we see that things are starting to get a little precarious, we have this process that is then implemented to help make a recommendation for closure or delay. The main factors that are taken into consideration and monitored hourly for a recommendation are potential ice and snow accumulation on roads and overpasses, ambient temperature 24 hours before impact and throughout the following day, soil temperature 2 inches below vegetation, wind chill temperatures, road conditions, and other safety concerns. To make a recommendation for action, all of the information is reviewed at 4 p.m. of the day prior by the operations team, and a determination is made if it will be necessary to review conditions by 3 a.m. for the final determination. To achieve this, transportation managers go out early in the morning and drive routes, and the facilities team members are out on sites evaluating those conditions. Then, based on the assessments, our Chief Operations Officer, Jorge Robles, assembles everyone on the phone for an early a.m. call that we have, I believe, Mr. Robles, by 4 a.m. If anybody would like to join. Just joking, not really joining. But we're on that call, and at that point in time, all of this information is weighed, and Chief Robles presents Superintendent Gist with a recommendation for what we should do, and Dr. Gist then makes the final call on what will happen. And when a weather front is already impacting the city, those are the fun ones, so we're already in school and here comes the weather. We monitor this information throughout the day and make determinations about whether or not we need an early closure, if after-school activities should be canceled, and we begin to plan for the following day as well. So a lot of thought and care goes into that. As Dr. Gist frequently says, and I know we all know and understand, safety is our #1 priority for our young people and our staff. So we take the weather very seriously and are on top of it and implement this process to keep everyone safe. And with that, I conclude the remarks for this evening.
Thank you. We do have one non-routine item to consider this evening, and it's something that is exciting but also sad. But we do need to consider the resignation of Dr. Cindy Decker, and I think Dr. Decker has something, some comments that she'd like to make in her letter of resignation.
Great, thank you. I did write a letter of resignation that I'd like to read tonight. I've made the difficult decision to resign effective tonight from the Tulsa Public Schools Board of Education. It's been a tremendous honor and privilege to represent the people in District 5 for nearly 4 years. I so enjoyed listening to and learning from my constituents. Many shared their concerns and dreams and experiences. And all that input helped me ask better questions, educate our superintendent and board, and make more informed decisions. I have also loved getting to work with Team Tulsa. I admire and appreciate each of you. I am in awe of your dedication, professionalism, and sense of urgency for improvement. I am proud of much of the work accomplished over my time on the board. I want to name just a few. The board's work guiding the strategic plan Destination Excellence. It is extremely difficult in a district of our size to create a vision, communicate this well, develop clear steps, and prioritize work and measure how it's going. And I feel this has been done very well and continues to be updated also well. Also, the district's growth in its data knowledge, data sharing and transparency, setting goals and using data for improvement. This work is highly commendable. I'm proud of the work managing the state cuts to our budget. I'm proud of the importance placed on students loving to learn and a joyful climate. It's essential that students are happy and comfortable and feel belonging in the classroom and our schools. And I appreciate that our district has specifically named this and measures it. And I'm also proud of the infusion, the mass infusion, of student and teacher resources and supports. But at the same time, there are immense issues to solve, and it's hard to leave without seeing them through. The high teacher turnover in our state has caused us to have fewer and fewer experienced teachers. The district goes above and beyond to hire well and train novice teachers, but the enormity of this task makes this very challenging. To provide a relevant statistic, the number of emergency certified teachers before I came on the board in 2014-15 was about 500 in our state. In just over my nearly 4 years, now this year we're nearing 2,900. This is nearly 500% increase over just my time on the board, and it's much higher if you just went back a few more years before that. And lastly, the work helping implement the core value of equity is an immense issue to solve. We all know the dramatically stark differences in student experience and achievement by race and income. This is concrete evidence of the importance of the district's equity work to eliminate these disparities so that we create a world-class city with well-educated youth living in each and every zip code. I'll close by just saying I've personally learned and grown so much from serving in this position. Thank you to the community for affording me this rewarding experience.
Thank you, Dr. Decker. My recommendation, like I said, with excitement about her new position, but reluctance to lose her, is to accept the resignation of Dr. Cindy Decker, Board of Education member representing Election District Number 5, to be effective immediately following the adjournment of this meeting and declare such office to be vacant. The Board of Education will receive written applications until January 11th, 2019 from qualified persons applying for appointment by the Board of Education to the vacant position created by Dr. Decker's resignation to serve the balance of her term. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Nobody wants to do it. Nope. So move.
I'll second.
Any discussion from board members? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wester.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Regretfully, aye.
Aye. I hope that you all join us at the next meeting on the 22nd when we commend Dr. Decker for her service and acknowledge her service here. I can say that each of us are going to miss her in our own way. Having served on leadership with her, she is a quick learner and someone who really models how to listen, models how to learn from her constituents and others, and is thoughtful and contemplative and asks all the right questions and works through an issue with you until the wee hours of the morning, and also is never too serious about anything, and can also have a fun laugh when it's necessary and things are really stressful. So I know that I'm personally going to miss her very much, and the things that she's acknowledged that we've worked on while she's been here don't necessarily list all the things that she personally made happen. And I hope when we have our next meeting, we'll talk more about those. But she was a big part of our superintendent's evaluation process changing, and was really critical to that work. The whole board worked on our name changes, but Dr. Decker was a big part of making that happen, and it's something I know that we're all proud of. And a number of other things that just involve reading charts and statistics and facts and numbers, and how helping us all understand what certain percentages mean and don't mean, and questioning them and asking if that's the right question to ask. Hopefully we've all internalized some of that, and we can do it for ourselves, but I'm pretty confident we're going to miss our chief economist. But we'll talk all more about that at the meeting on the 22nd, so I hope you'll join us to celebrate her service and her new role at leading our 4 educators, soon to be 4 educators in Tulsa, and preparing our youngest citizens to become great Tulsans. So we're going to miss you, Cindy. The application process for her position has begun. We do have several applications already in hand, but we are accepting them until Friday, January 11th at 4:30. They can be submitted online via email to the clerk of the board, or by hand delivery here to the Education Service Center. And the application and qualifications are available on our website at tulsaschools.org/District 5. For everybody out in Facebook land watching us, I will quickly remind you that you must be a registered voter with the Tulsa County Election Board, residing within the geographical boundaries of District 5 for at least 6 months prior to the date of the application. So that means you need to both live in the district for 6 months and be registered as a voter in that district for 6 months. Applicants must hold a minimum of a high school diploma or a certificate of high school equivalency, and the applicant cannot be employed by Tulsa Public Schools or related within the second degree to any district employee or member of the board. This board district includes Elliott Elementary, Lanier, Mayo, and Wright Elementary Schools, and Edison Preparatory Middle and High School. It's bounded by the Arkansas River to the west and extends as far east as Yale Avenue. And the northern boundary is East 11th Street, and the southern boundary lies just south of Interstate 44. The appointment to the District 5 board seat will run through the end of Cindy's term in 2020. And again, you can find more information about this at tulsaschools.org/District 5. Separate and apart from the appointment for the District 5 seat, we do have 2 elections. The filings happened in early December, so that's Election District 1 and Election District 2. That is currently Ms. Wester's seat is District 2, and Mr. Percival's is District 1. We have 8 candidates for the District 1 seat and 2 for the District 2 seat. And the primary for that election will be on the second Tuesday in February. That's February 12th. And then, depending on what happens in that election, move to the general in the first Tuesday in April on the April 2nd, 2019. There's several folks that have, like I said, a total of 10 candidates right now that have filed to run for those seats. And as a reminder, you do need to file a statement of organization with our board clerk, Ms. Cindy Hutchings. And if you have questions about that as a candidate, you can ask her, but do make sure that you file that statement of organization. Any other comments from any members of the board? Mr. Wade, is there any new business? Okay. So let's see, it's 7:24. I think we have redeemed ourselves. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019, at 6:30 p.m. in the Cheryl Selman Room at the Education Service Center, 3027 South New Haven Avenue, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Dr. Decker?
So moved.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Ms. Faith?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned.